I feel that there is a DLC announcement on the horizon. So here are 5 things I hope to see in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's DLC. Pokemon Sword and Shield's expansion pass was announced on January 9th, 2020, only a few months after the game's release. During our time with the Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra, Pokemon fans were left overall pretty happy. We got new Pokemon, a fun story, and even a fun new way to hunt shiny Pokemon. With being a big fan of the direction that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet has gone in both story and gameplay, I'm expecting the inevitable DLC to be on par with Sword and Shield's DLC, if not even greater. But that doesn't mean I don't get to be picky with what I want to have happen versus what actually will happen. Now, I think I can speak for any person playing this game when I say, yeah, it's buggy. The first thing I want in this DLC, or maybe just even an update, looking at you late February, is just improved performance. The Pokemon releases on Switch have always come with a bit of criticisms with every new release. Sword and Shield trees, Diamond and Pearl art style, Legends Arceus general graphics. Not you, Pokemon Snap, you're off the hook. I also didn't play you, but I watched my girlfriend play it. She liked it. But Pokemon Scarlet and Violet has been the first notable release where the game actually hurts my eyes to play in some areas. When I'm in the lake area, near any sort of large body of water and have a bunch of trees on screen, the game just chugs at such a low frame rate that you can't just ignore it anymore. Sure, the transition to 3D have always had some hiccups here and there, but nowhere near the amount Scarlet and Violet is bringing to the table. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older and it just hurts to look at screens all day, but this is the only thing that hurts my eyes on a day-to-day basis. I don't make games, and I understand making games is hard, but I feel like Pokemon as a company has the resources to at least put a performance patch out. Every time Pokemon has released trailers with new ways to interact with your little Pokepals, I get excited thinking about how I'm gonna really enjoy the downtime in between battles. But just like Sword and Shield, the food crafting in this game is just kind of bleh. Crafting sandwiches is fine. I like stacking, and you do get some cool benefits depending on what you make, but I find myself only using the sparkling power sandwiches to get shiny Pokemon, which is neat, but I wish there was more to do at a picnic than just throw a ball. I remember playing Pokemon Yellow and there was this surf minigame you could play. I was a kid then, but I was still hooked on just seeing how well I could do in it. We need something like that in modern Pokemon games. Like, what if there was some type of race you could have between your party Pokemon, or some type of board game you could play with friends during a Union Circle? Picture Mario Party style games, but with Pokemon instead. I feel like this would add a lot to the picnic campsite mechanics that they've added in recent games. I will say, I really like the breeding method with picnics. No more. No! As I record this video, I currently have a challenge going on where I'm racing the starters in this game to see who will shine first. I'm hatching eggs of them using the Masuda method. While this is great for streaming content, I do wish we could get outbreaks for the starters. That is why I'm here to present you this. I think the DLC could be a unique way to introduce starter outbreaks and also a good incentive to even purchase the DLC. This idea is sponsored from a selfish shiny hunter who decided this gen he would make a shiny living dex and has slowly regretted his decisions. I know the starters are special, and in order to catch them all, Pokemon wants us to trade, but when I first played on release day, I read this dex entry. This Pokemon migrated to Paldea from distant lands long ago. You know who that's for? Quaxley. I want these distant lands mentioned to be the DLC. Then I can find Quaxley's family and let him be with his people like Ash did with Butterfree. Then selfishly hunt an outbreak to get more shinies. Back when the Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra were first shown off, our first piece of content goodness that we so desperately craved was none other than the wonderful Pokemon. Sorry, is this not it? Oh wait, okay. Oh, okay. All right, there we go. Okay, so jokes aside, I didn't really mind Galarian Slowpoke. In fact, I shiny hunted him the first day we could, and he still remains my quickest Masuda method hunt. I'm not a big Reggie guy, so Reggie, Lecky, and Regidrago were fine. The birds were cool too, but I was expecting more new Pokemon and not just like a handful of legendaries. In total, those DLCs brought us 13 new Pokemon, some of which are different forms or just separated forms. I don't know if I'm the weird one for saying this, but I would have much rather had 20-ish brand new Pokemon that are not legendary to a new mini region than just some regional forms and 3 to 5 legendaries. We have some returning Pokemon from previous games that have already been found in the code, and I'm sure more Pokemon from the national decks will return in the DLC as well. But I think a good selling point to the DLC would be for us to run around and experience the feeling of a Route 1-esque encounter, just like we did with this gen discovering Tarantula. More of, this fella is silly, I'll use them on my team, and not, oh, sweet, a legendary I'll put in a box and never touch. Remember how exciting it was to hear this? You want to hear it again? Do you want to hear it reversed? Anyways, I don't want that sound to come back. In fact, I don't want any shiny sounds to happen in the overworld. Now, before you grab your pitchforks, let me explain myself. Shiny encounters in Scarlet and Violet just kind of... Except they don't even have that sound effect. It's just this. Now, I do miss the Legends Arceus sound effect, which really made encountering a shiny in the overworld special. Sometimes you even have to play the game where it's, I heard the shiny, now what direction did it come from? Now, I have this theory as to why I think having the sound in this game would be bad, so here's a visual representation. Bear with me. In this game, you play as this character, here. Pokemon can spawn around you in what feels like a small range around you. When you move, the range also moves. The problem with this is the consistency at which Pokemon spawn. In your small spawning circle, a Pokemon can appear at the last second while you're moving. If it's shiny and your small circle moves too quickly, you can immediately despawn your shiny. Now, this sucks when you can visually see it, but wouldn't it be worse if you could hear a shiny spawn around you only to then despawn immediately out of your circle? None of us realize this, but we have probably had at least one encounter where a shiny has spawned outside of our field of vision in this game. But it doesn't feel as bad because we didn't know. It's probably due to technical limitations, but I like to think that it was removed after some testing of the game. The solution to this? May I introduce you to my friend, Pokemon Let's Go. Let's Go had overworld Pokemon with no sound. It was exciting to finally see those sparkles pop up in the overworld and stay on your Pokemon in the overworld before you encountered it. I think this would be a cool thing to implement on the shiny encounters in Scarlet and Violet. It would still hurt a little bit on the inside if you despawned the Pokemon, but at least it would make encountering the shiny a little more obvious without having the addition of sound. I do think this point fits more in the this should be in an update category and not in the this should be in the DLC category, but I think it's important to bring up. Well, there you go. That is everything I think should be added to the game in either DLC or future updates. I really like the direction that Game Freak is headed with these entries of Scarlet and Violet. I just kind of wish that these games had more time to bake in the polish oven. I'd love to hear some of your suggestions of what you either want or expect in the game moving forward, so leave a comment letting me know your thoughts on DLC and future updates. If you enjoyed this video, let me know with hitting the like button. It helps out way more than you think. I'm new to these kind of videos, so if you want to see more, subscribe and hit the bell. I'll see you on the next one. Later.